Welcome to the Ironman Insider Podcast, presented by Morton. I'm your host, Matt Lieto, and I'm lucky enough to be here with Braden Curry today in Cairns for the Cairns Airport Ironman Asia Pacific Championship, Cairns, and it's a pretty nice spot. No wonder you like it.
Yeah, mate. No complaints so far. I think you've obviously been down here a few days, experienced some of the goods that Cairns has to offer. And I always enjoy getting back here. It's a great race and a bit of a holiday feel at the same time.
Yeah, you've won this race 3 times now?
3 wins. I think the first year maybe I got 3rd and 1 second.
It's not bad.
Good stats here. Yeah, better than the rest of my year.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Does it feel, I mean, it's not a hometown race, but does it feel, since you have that much history here in Cairns and you said it feels like a bit of a holiday, does it feel hometown to you at all?
It does feel hometowny to me. Yeah, I've been coming up here for nearly 16 years.
Yeah.
We used to own a cycle touring company. So I would fly up here with like 5 or 6 bikes, pick up a bunch of clients and take them touring around here. I knew nothing about the area.
Yeah.
Slept in my car the whole time and pretended that it was a high-end cycle touring holiday. So
Yeah.
I know this place inside out. Out on course, you always remember some of those places too.
That's sweet. I was told you slept in your car here a bunch. I didn't realize it was for work, but it's good to know.
Those were the days. Whatever it took to get by.
That's so awesome. So what? How long did you run the cycling tours for?
We were living in Byron Bay, and we started a cycle touring company, ran it for roughly 3 years, all over Australia and New Zealand, self-guided cycling tours, moved out of that into professional sport. There you go.
And would you guys go like into the Daintree, or like where would you do cycling tours from here?
Yeah, up here we'd head off south and up from Gordonvale into the Atherton Tablelands. If you get out there, there's a place called Yungaburra.
Yeah.
It's a cake shop. It's fantastic. It's well worth the stop.
How long of a ride do I have to do to get to the cake shop?
Oh, there's actually a really big climb. It's like, I think it's 18.5K this climb, and it's all about 12%. It's a fantastic climb, so it's worth that. And then you probably another 50 odd K to get out to the cake shop.
There you go. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but Braden gave me the up and down. It's like, you're not going to make it up to the cake shop.
Do you remember the first time I recce'd that trip? I took my son in a seat behind me. He was like, he could barely hold his head up at that point in time. It was like a year and a half, and we rode that climb with him. So, yeah, some good experiences.
Yeah, sweet. So Cairns, I don't know if you know, but I've been here a couple of days doing some like tourism board stuff, and it's been epic. Like,
First time?
Yeah. So went out and went to wildlife zone and swam with crocs and like held koalas.
You swam with them?
Yeah, there may or may not have been like glass in between.
Oh, yeah, right. Cool.
But, like,
you pretended to swim on the inside. Yeah.
It was just,
You're a brave man.
yeah, really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd signed a lot of waivers, but it was good.
Yeah, good.
Great time. And went up in a helicopter and did the whole thing. Like, this place is, speak to maybe how unique this zone is just for the epic stuff that's so close. Like, you're at the Barrier Reef, and then just minutes away, seemingly, you're in the oldest rainforest on the planet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the top of the Great Barrier Reef's fed by the Daintree. Daintree is just a beautiful area of like dense rainforest. I don't know if you've seen a cassowary yet, but it's a big bird, looks kind of like an ostrich with this chunk on the top of its head. Only found there. Beautiful birds and pretty cool. And that feeds the whole Great Barrier Reef, which surrounds Cairns and goes all the way south. I think, even goes down close to like Hamilton Island. It's a long way. But yeah, man, it's a great place. Always enjoyed kids coming here.
Yeah.
You get out there as you've been doing and see the crocodiles and go swimming, see Nemo, the fish on the reef, and into the rainforest. It is really a bit of a tourist mecca.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to answer your question, I did see a kookaburra. Is that what we call it? Kookaburra?
No, cassowary.
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 Yeah, I saw cassowary.
Oh, you
Fed it
did?
a banana. Yeah, his
There you
name
go.
was Karen.
Karen.
Karen the cassowary.
Karen the cassowary. Good.
Yeah, it was good. It's a good time.
They can be Karenish.
That's
My
awesome.
mom's called Karen.
Oh, yeah. I've got
I got to be careful with the Karen.
Does she
jokes.
get a little Karen-y at times?
Can get sensitive.
With you, that's not too surprising. Do you have any bike tour like with the crazy story that you can share with us?
Oh, it's a good one. Like one day we made this route up on the top of the Atherton Tablelands.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually explored the route.
That always goes well.
I sent the clients off on their trip. Yeah. They ring me like an hour later and they're like, there's a bridge, but it's been washed out and there's nothing left of it. And I was like, oh, it must have happened in the last flood. I go and check it out. There hadn't been a bridge there for like 30 years. I said, just climb over the pillars and you'll be fine.
Everybody online is canceling their tours with Brayton right now.
They're done. Don't worry, I got out of it.
Dude, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah, so I think most people around here know that you have a pretty diverse athletic background, but maybe not everybody globally knows because people have been paying attention to triathlon for the last 7, 8, 10 years. You're a triathlete, but your multi-sport background goes much further than that. Can you tell us a little bit, like athletically, how you started into the multi-sport scene?
Yep, definitely a non-conventional route, probably into Ironman. Really sort of 16, 17, school wasn't working, found my way into adventure sport, travelled for, let's just fast forward the process, 4 years doing whatever I could, adventurous, climbing, mountaineering, rafting, canyoning, wherever it took me, Thailand, Canada, States, all through Europe. And it was when I actually got home, I started racing adventure racing. It's a big race called Coast to Coast in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That was probably my first real experience of high-level sport, especially endurance sport. And that led me into, more adventure racing, lots of racing in China, multi-day stage races, through like the Gobi Desert and Yellow River and stuff. So some really cool experiences when I was quite young. And then I sort of found myself in Xterra, raced Xterra really gave it a good go for probably 2 or 3 years. And and then Ironman came, sort of was the next natural fit really. I'd done a lot of endurance sport. I'd taught myself how to swim. So I thought it was time to give Ironman a go. And this was about 6, 7 years ago.
Dude, pretty good swimmer for teaching yourself how to swim.
Yeah, it's been a it was a pretty quick trajectory, really. Like I probably spent 2 years, maybe second group, sometimes a little bit off the back of that. I actually remember I was 25, swimming with my wife, and she was pretty much lapping me in a 25-meter pool. But no, once I sort of figured it out and put in the work, it came around pretty quick.
Did the rowing background help with that transfer?
Yeah, kayaking was the big thing.
Yeah.
So in New Zealand, the Coast to Coast got a 70k kayak, and we spent a lot of time in boats. So yeah, absolutely, like fluid dynamics, catch, pull, draw, exit of the stroke. I still kind of probably use the same process that I do in a paddle stroke that I do sort of cross over to swimming. So yeah, it seemed to cross over pretty quick.
Sweet. Big fluid dynamics guy.
Big fluid dynamics. Yeah, I'm all about rotation. If you've seen me swim, I'm not the prettiest swimmer, but I think some reason the way I sort of twist and move in the water, it works for me.
It works. I'm going to take a closer look next time. See how that goes. That's awesome. How'd you do on your first, and can you break down what the Coast to Coast, like distance-wise, is? Because it's pretty epic. Yeah,
the Coast to Coast is a really unique race. New Zealand, obviously, it's an insane little country, but you can race from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Hence its name. 3-4K sprint up the beach onto your bikes, 44K road ride. Probably one of the only races in the world that you can ride a TT bike in a bunch.
Yep.
So that's at about 6 in the morning in absolute carnage. A mountain run, and the mountain run's very technical. It's 32K mountain run, takes just under 3 hours. Boulder hopping, like some of the boulders are kind of 2.5 meters high. You just kind of scramble up them, do big mantles, jump to the next one. And then another 30K ride, 70K kayak, which is about 4 hours, and another, I think it's 70K TT back to town for the finish on the East Coast.
That's pretty big time. And did you go back a couple years ago? Yeah.
Wow, that's a funny story. I haven't raced it for, I don't know, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And my wife snapped my kayak the last time I raced. So that was meant to be the end of my multi-sport
Like,
career.
she did it on purpose because she didn't want you racing.
Yeah.
Or like, everything.
Yeah, maybe. She tells me she jackknifed the car with the trailer and snapped my boat into 3 pieces, but she did a very good job. So I got it patched up thinking maybe one day, but it's never a race boat. It was just a training boat. Then COVID hit and Ironman New Zealand was called off.
Yep.
Funny enough, my brother is the event organizer for the Coast to Coast, and
funny.
it's still a bit controversial to this day that I rang him a few 4 days out from the race and was like, what's the chances
Yeah.
you could sneak me on that start line? There's a wait list of like 3,000 to get into this race or something.
So there is a controversy there, yeah.
Yeah. He managed to pull some strings, and yeah, like 24 hours later, I was on the start line. Again, another little bit controversial that there's a 70k kayak stage, and that is a bulk of time. Like that's a big effort,
massive.
Of the race, and I had been watching the flows, and the river was in flood. And I kind of knew what the cutoff was that you're legally allowed to run the race in. And I knew that if the river didn't drop below that level, there wasn't going to be a 70k kayak. It was going to be like a 40k kayak further down the river.
Right.
So I thought, why not? And I took my chances and managed to take the win quite comfortably in the end and stay in my boat for 40k.
The part of the controversy where the guy who's the dam operator upriver, is that part of the thing too?
Yeah. No, there's some real stats went into that one. Lucky enough, it's not mechanically controlled, so that was out of my control. But I did happen to know the guy who's the safety operator for the kayak section that had a good inside word that the river wouldn't drop below the level.
Well, people be wondering why I'm asking you so many questions about all this stuff, but
yes,
I think it's important. I think people often, when I'm doing broadcasts, people are like, it looks like Braden is sprinting at the end of an Ironman, and I imagine that's got to be a little bit from like just going to the past and be like, man, I used to run around in the Gobi Desert for like 5 days or whatever, right? Like, does that time past affect what an Ironman distance feels like to you?
I think that's what made the crossover a lot easier. Yeah, like Coast to Coast, for example, was 11, 12 hours, sometimes 10 on a fast day. Adventure racing, multi-sport racing, kind of back-to-back days of racing. I guess conceptually the distance didn't feel that bad, didn't seem that hard. But I've probably got a bad habit of pacing my run as well. So I tend to look like I'm sprinting.
You do go out pretty hot.
Yeah, and sometimes I look like I'm crawling as well, more towards the end.
Is that a tactic to like get space, or is it just you're a racer and like sometimes you're like, maybe I'm going out too hard, but we'll figure it out?
I'd say it's a bit of both. To be like, I like coming off the bike and running fast.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of if it's coming easy, just go with the flow. Don't restrict yourself too much.
Yeah.
And go with that and deal with the consequences to the end. Probably as I've raced more and more, I've learned to maybe taper it back a little bit. No more of those kind of 3 minutes flat out of transition, more like 3:20s. Yeah, I mean, it seems to work for me, and we'll see how we go.
Yeah, so to get that course record, and I believe your PB marathon here last year, did you have that tactic, or did the old wise Braden take over and have you go out at a steady pace?
It was relatively consistent. Yeah, I sort of held it back a little bit more than I normally would. But again, it was the way the race was unfolding that there's a good group of us that come off the bike first, and that sort of allowed me to ease into the run rather than trying to hunt someone down or drop them straight off the bat.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's get into it. So racing last year, obviously great race there. Did you have your qualifying spot before that, or was that your qualifier?
I had a qualifying spot before that at Ironman New Zealand.
Yep, sweet. And then obviously the goal was world champs at the end of the year?
Yes. Yep, that was the main goal.
And yeah, talk us through, like, I know for you, I look back historically and you're a very consistent racer. And I feel like in the last 8 months, it's not necessarily been that. And I did notice
Yes.
I do a ton of prep. I don't know if you
I'm
know that
sure
about
you
me.
do a
Like,
lot of
there's just
research.
notes everywhere, tons of research.
A mess.
I looked at your landing page and your website, and it says that you're a great believer in luck, and you find it harder to train the more of it you have. But it seems like luck maybe hasn't been on your. Does that mean you haven't been training, or what, man? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I just haven't been training.
No, but like it seemed like Nice Ford, like it's been.
Nice Ford, even before that, mate, I got COVID pre-Kona
Right,
the
totally.
year before, and that was gutting. I'd had such a good build, was in a great space. 5 days out, sore throat, next minute, yeah, gone.
And your first Kona, you didn't have great luck either.
First Kona was a funnier story, really.
I didn't think it was that funny.
You want to go there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
First Kona had big build up. First, I did Ironman New Zealand, won that debut. Raced Ironman Cairns here, I think, second or something, third here. And then had quite a big media crew following me. Red Bull had put a lot of money.
That's right. Yep.
Invested a big amount of money into this project called Dedicate. And they'd followed me all year in the build. My kids flew into Hawaii, into Kona, and being the dad, wanting to give my son, an experience and really put him in the elements. We went for a walk out to this reef kind of, and I thought, it'd be quite cool to like swim across, like jump in through the surf and swim across and pull into the beach. We dove in together. He's maybe like 9 at this point in time or something. He's swimming behind me, quite a strong current sweeping us back out. And I started getting a bit like worried about it. So I put my feet down and stood straight on a sea urchin and got like hundreds of splines in the bottom of my foot. So spent the night with the doctor trying to pick these splines out of my foot, but you probably know they don't come out, they just break and keep breaking and breaking and breaking. So I had to race with these splines in my foot, and it was a bit of a rough day.
Yeah, that's a challenge. And I always bring things back to me, but I picked you for a podium
off the
that year
bat.
in Kona. Off the bat, people thought I was crazy, and it didn't really produce more.
No, it didn't happen. It's been a few of those, but that's sport, isn't it?
It is. And talking about it, and I think the reason I bring it up is that we and you had big expectations, I think, coming in early season for the Pro Series. And in general, for those listening at home, Braden is the furthest from coming off like someone who would say that he has bad luck or to put it on something other than just what you're putting in, right? Like he's not someone who seems downtrodden from those results at all, or again, puts them on anybody else. So I think it's interesting that just a good talking point that you've not had the season that you've wanted, even the end of last season, and you're still confident going in that you're going to take on these young bucks here this weekend.
Yeah, it has been a challenging 9 months probably since racing here last. This is probably one of my PB races ever, best performances that I've had. And then into a bit of a spiral. Like Nice was a bit of a disaster, a little bit out of my control, or just bad luck. And then even Tassie at the start of the year got a flat tire, had a couple of crashes, trying to catch up, and so it feels like a bit of a long run this year, but I mean, I'm fit, healthy. I think the big thing is like injury free. Haven't been injured for about a year now. The training hasn't changed. The headspace hasn't really changed. So, I think you can only take that as confidence that the performance is there. It's just hopefully delivering it.
Right. I think this speak to a bit like you've had these big highs, right? And obviously those lows, but it seems like you temper well. The sport can be kind of brutal, right? Like you put just as much into those races where it doesn't go well as you did the ones where it does, right?
Oh yeah. It's it's so black and white in a way. Sport, it gives you instant answers, and everyone can see it too. So it's not like you just have a bad day in the office and you walk home and you get up the next morning and you go back and you have a pretty good one. When you get to this level, everyone's expecting you to perform, and when you have a rough day, it's pretty obvious for a lot of people. It is a challenge to balance that out, I guess, mentally, emotionally. But I just think, I've probably been in the sport long enough now. I've got wife, kids, quite a good lifestyle outside of the sport as well. That I'm probably not as emotionally traumatized by the bad performances as some people.
Yeah, no, I was going to point to that a little bit. And I feel like it's not a coincidence, right? Like when I think I met you outside of Ogden at Xterra, like just swimming in some lake, like before the first time. I don't know if you remember that, but doing a championship years ago for Xterra, and like you had your family with you, or you were talking about your family. Like your family's always been part of it. It's not like this is something you do and your family's at home. It's like you guys are doing this all kind of together. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so lucky to be in that position.
Yeah.
My wife and I have created that lifestyle at the same time. And I think like being a professional athlete can be pretty lonely. There's a lot of travel. There's a lot of training camps and bases by yourself and places. So, since day dot, we've traveled together. It's been pretty cool. They're, 16 and 11 now. And they've been around the world a lot. Spent a lot of time in planes. I think in Ogden, I remember my daughter was like 4 or something. Yep. We're pushing her out on the SUP, and they've always just been part of it, part of the journey and traveling. And I guess that's probably made it a lot more enjoyable, and probably been able to extend, I'd say, my career in the sport too. The fact that it's just normal life. They're there. I'm not missing out.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're sacrificing anything to be doing the sport still, yeah?
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel like I'm sacrificing, because they can be such a big part of it, and they still enjoy it to this day. So that's awesome. If they were ready to just stay home and not go anywhere, then I'd probably have to be second guessing what I'm doing.
How so? You must have started early with the kids, yeah?
Well planned, mate. Yeah, perfection.
It was all together. You knew you'd be here. You started early.
I was 21. Yeah, when we had Tan. So, yeah, definitely. In some ways, I credit that what I've been able to achieve in the last sort of 15 years, 16 years with him has made me probably focus a lot more, dedicate a lot more, and if you knew me before that, I was a little bit adrift, bouncing from point to point, as you do. But since then it's been pretty grounded and focused.
Were you sleeping in cars then too?
I carried on sleeping in cars. That didn't change. Definitely the kind of adventurous spirit maybe got pulled back a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously like passing that on to them, right? Like, do they have that lifestyle or that energy or that kind of eye for the adventure?
Oh yeah, they love it. Yeah, probably their favourite pastime is just to all be out in the hills. Doesn't matter what it is, hunting, fishing, Sweet. Just tramping, pack rafting, skiing. Very adventurous kids and really passionate.
Awesome. Now I heard you had that early season, some good races as well as maybe some bad luck in races that didn't go very well, but sounds like one of the bigger things is you weren't able to have the whole family with you this time, right? And they're all reunited now, is that right?
Yeah, maybe my son was a little bit too adventurous. Earlier this year, we were packing to head to Oceanside, and he sent it off a bank, off his mountain bike, and did a spiral fracture of his tibia. Yep. So if anyone sees him this weekend, he's still hobbling around, just out of plaster, and it's been a good 11 weeks or something. Rehab still happening. So yeah, they were supposed to come to Oceanside. We were supposed to be all going skiing for a week, right. And me and Sally carried on, and they stayed at home. So we really rubbed it in that he should keep on his bike and not crash.
Yeah, no, that learn a lesson there.
Oh yeah, it's good to teach them.
That doesn't seem like the apple falls too far from the tree on that one.
Exactly.
Spiral fracture was brutal. Did you shake it off, or was it pretty tough?
It was pretty intense at the moment. Like he was racing an enduro race, and just a bit hot around the corner, and went off a bluff, and they couldn't find him for a while, they sort of stopped the race and put out a bit of a search party and found him 15 odd meters down a bank. Was lucky enough he didn't hit his head, but it was going to be a bit hard to get him out of there. So he got himself his first, well, probably not his first helicopter ride, but a free helicopter ride anyway, by Sling out of there and straight into hospital. And yeah, he's all right.
Some stressful moments for Dad?
Yeah, I was out on my bike in the middle of nowhere, last long ride leading into, heading away to Oceanside. So it's probably the fastest ever TT I did home to our TT home to make sure he was going to be all right. But
brutal. Yeah,
pretty amazing what goes through your head at a time like that when you're sort of quite helpless, but you know your kid's getting heli-vac'd out of somewhere is intense.
I'm sure you put your parents through similar stressful moments.
No doubt. I thought I was a perfect child, but maybe looking back in hindsight, there was a few stressful times in their lives that I may have helped contribute to.
Now, is the adventurous spirit, is that unique? Obviously, you have a unique lifestyle, but New Zealand, does it kind of breed people getting out and enjoying the backcountry? Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. We're pretty lucky in the South Island that if whatever you want to do in the outdoors, really, you can walk out your doorstep and find something from, good rivers to paddle and good mountains to climb. Got a huge network of huts all throughout New Zealand. So like little shelters, bivouacs that are free. You can just rock up to them anytime you want. You can find routes that you can mountain bike to, bike pack. Pretty lucky, and I'd say it just breeds adventurous, really, spirits. It's you were pretty lucky, Sir Edmund Hillary, he was first person to ever climb Everest. But a big history in adventure in our country.
Sweet. Just now I'm already writing down. I'm coming out for Worlds in
looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm going to be asking you to borrow a pack raft and,
Mate, I got more toys than you could poke stick at. So.
Sweet. I'll hold you to it. I'll hold you to it. So, when the Pro Series was announced, was it right away you were like, okay, this is going to be something good for me as far as like your consistency over the two distances? And there's not many athletes that can top 10 at a 70.3 Worlds as you've done, and then podium at a Ironman World Championship as you've done as well.
I mean, it was obviously a really good step for me and where I'm at in my career, and the prospect of chasing the Pro Series seems like a really good goal. As you say, normally very consistent in my racing, and I tend to have that still have that ability to swim kind of with a front group in a 70.3 and put myself in a good position. Ironman I'd say is probably my strength, but tend to be able to compete pretty well across both. So Pro Series definitely rang a bell for me, and is still a big focus of the year.
Sweet. You got some points on the board at Oceanside, yeah?
Yep. Got some points on the board at Oceanside. And then Texas was one that I walked away from. But I don't know, in some ways maybe that's the mentality for a lot of athletes now too, is that with the Pro Series being there, if the points aren't going to be good, then sometimes it's not worth finishing another marathon when you can hopefully back it up a few weeks later and get better points.
Yeah, you were joking around with some of the guys in the pro panel earlier.
It's pretty funny, wasn't it?
Tell us kind of what was going on there.
It was just a coincidence that the three of us side by side that were on the pro panel all had raced Texas, and all had terrible days, really. I had a swim, okay, mediocre kind of swim for me. Nick Free was there, Thompson was there, and he came flying past me on the bike. 140k, he comes back past me. I was like, bro, where did you come from?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I bonged, I'm gone.
No way.
And he's like, oh, but just stay on my wheel, I'll help you get to the run. You'll still run good. And I was like, mate, I can't even see. Like I've got blurry vision and my back had gone. And then Joe comes flying past and then halfway through not halfway through, on the first lap of the run, I come around a corner and here's Joe lying on the ground, stretching his back. I'm like, what are you doing, Joe? He's like, I'm going home. So okay, I'll go home too.
Seems like a good place to stop.
So some good camaraderie out there on course, and it was fun. It's good laugh that the three boys were there.
Yeah, funny. And I think the more experience you have, the more I feel like you and Joe 10 years ago might not have been as jokey about dropping out of a race, but you're like, another one's around the corner, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, we've probably become a little bit more accepting to. Probably not the performances we thought we were going to have the day before, but yeah.
Yeah, so moving forward, obviously there's more points on the board. This race is going to end up being pretty impactful for the series, as I think Joe mentioned. It's kind of like a world championship, right? Like there's only so many you can race before getting out to Kona. What are your goals here this weekend, and then moving forward, what's your kind of tactics going into getting as many points as you can?
The goal here is to win. I know I've managed to do it a few times now, so I feel like I'm in good shape to be able to pull off like probably the same performance I had last year, and I still believe if I pulled that performance off, then a win should be well within my reach. And then, I think that would ideally set me up still really well for the Pro Series. So Lake Placid, 6 weeks' time.
Yep.
And again, that's a course that actually excites me. Probably Texas was on the other side of that spectrum. We'll go and, hopefully off a good race here, we'll go and try and get some more points there.
Yep.
And then Kona, which is probably the main focus for my whole year.
Yeah, and it seems like Kona and World Championship in general has been kind of the focus of your career. Is that right? What is it about that race?
Yeah, I think it's always been like I've always liked racing the big races. So whether it's Xterra World Champs, whether it's Kona, whether it's Nice, like I do really enjoy doing the big races. So it's always been a big focus. I think it's a race that I can perform at really well. A couple of years it has gone pretty well, but still some definitely room for improvement. So I like the island. Feels good for me. Good energy, and I feel like I've still got one or two good shows there to put on.
Yeah, I'd say that you do. And you had that podium at St. George in quite a battle.
Yes,
dramatic fashion. Does that kind of battle give you more tools moving forward to have another maybe move a step or two up the podium?
Yeah, I do think performing on a world stage like that is such a big kind of confidence boost as an athlete, and we can sort of rock around the world doing smaller races and having wins and stuff, but to be there with 60 of the world's best guys and to be leading the race for a lot of the race. And then, Christian caught me at about 32k or something.
Yeah. And
it came down to a pretty dismal sprint between me and Lionel, the last 200 meters of the race. And Lionel pipped me. So, it was close racing, but just that kind of belief that, you swim with the best, you ride off the front. And that year too, we rode that group of five, we rode away from someone like Cam Worth.
Dude, you were riding aggressive too.
We pushed it really hard and it worked for us. And then I probably didn't quite put the marathon together I was hoping for, but, still, we had pushed it all day.
I'll say I was out on course and I'd done the course preview for the run, and they're like, no, they don't do another out and back at the end of the marathon. And so I was out on the course with like a mile to go. I'm like, Braden's got it, no problem. And they're like, oh no, he's got an out and back. Like if it didn't have that out and back, you would have had it, yeah?
Yeah, that last little out and back definitely had second. I don't think I was taking Christian out that day. He'd pulled back so much time in that first 21k, but would have taken some big eruptions from him. But still, it definitely felt like I was on for a second.
Yeah. So Placid's next after this. Have you done Placid before?
Never raced Lake Placid, but yeah, looked around. Obviously, I could head to Europe and race there, but Placid looks a little bit more like New Zealand.
It's a course for you, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit more undulating, a few more hills, and thought it looked like a good course for me.
Yeah, sweet. So, another skill that you seem to have that sounds like or seems like maybe would come from that multi-sport or endurance background is like pretty resilient in general. You said you haven't had an injury in a year. I don't remember really seeing you have a bunch of injuries. What is it, just for those listening, that maybe they might be able to take out of it as far as like resilience and recovery? You're only as good for your next workout as you were recovering from your last one, right? And you seem to be able to kind of back to back pretty frequently. Can you touch on that a little bit?
I am lucky. I think in 14 years now of racing professionally, across all different facets. I've maybe had one Achilles injury that put me out for 6 months, but that was literally it. So yeah, I think what would I put a lot of it down to? I think you'd be surprised. I'm not an overtrainer. I'm probably an undertrainer, or maybe not surprised.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, my run weeks aren't big. I think you might look at sometimes in the big build, like, 80, maybe 85K, 1 or 2 weeks out from an Ironman. But other than that, they might be like 40, 50K run weeks. So not big run mileage, but a lot of quality, I would say. Like I don't go and run 5-minute Ks, in our world. I tend to go out and run with purpose when I run. So a lot of that is, I'd say training is, a lot of the training's done with purpose, with intent, and not a lot of kind of just faff miles.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think it's funny because even probably some people listening will listen to that and be like, oh, that's great that he can run that well in spite of not running that much. But like maybe speak to the fact that it's because of that. Yeah,
I mean, I look at it's funny, like the 2 races I've raced 2 times I've gone under 240 on this course. My run build into that have been averaging around 40, 50K a week.
Yeah.
Which is probably about the same as what most age groupers are running into some of them. So
yeah, I mean, most are probably running more than that. Yeah.
Probably a lot more than that. So it just goes to show that like sometimes it's not all about, massive volume. I mean, I've been racing for quite a long time as well, and obviously like adventure racing and that probably hardened my legs a lot. But yeah, sometimes you don't have to flog the dog.
I need to write all these down. I'll have to after the pod. I'll write them down, listen to it again. But yeah, and my thing is it even hard though for an athlete to? It's hard sometimes to integrate. Like you'll see athletes that, I had my best race ever, and I had the flu a week out, and I did train for a week, and you're like, hey, maybe we can learn something from that, right? Like I was talking to maybe don't like give yourself the flu week out, eating bad chicken on purpose or anything like that. But like talking to Sam Laidlow, he had COVID 10 days out. Is how hard is it to look back at those PB runs and be like, okay, hey, maybe I actually need to not do as much.
Yeah, I know, it's impossible, isn't it? Like, I shouldn't even say that because in hindsight, looking at training, there's probably not the training tactic I would take still to this day is to do 40K a week. It's just because, at that point in time I had to. And I'd actually come off probably Ironman New Zealand as the main key race, and I've just kind of nursed my way through to Cairns, and it's gone better than Ironman New Zealand, which is the key race. So,
right.
Yeah, I think you can't. Every race seems to be so different. You never know really what to expect. I guess you just try and find what you believe is the best formula for you and repeat that. And as you say, you're not going to go and give yourself the flu the week out, but sometimes that actually works well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next time we know you've got the flu before, we'll still be rooting for you.
Still going for it. Yeah,
you're good to go.
Yeah.
So obviously training is one part of it, but keeping the head in the game, especially like in training, but where do you go mentally when you put yourself out there? I mean, it's sports. I don't love to use this word in it, but like what you did in St. George is like kind of courageous, right? Like it feels very exposed to be out in front of someone like Christian and everybody else, right? Like, where do you go to in your head to like calm yourself or excite yourself or like to get through that? Like, where are you in that space?
I'd say I probably sit on the calm side pre-race. I don't like I used to think Lionel Sanders just beat himself up so much before the race. You knew there was going to be no performance out the other side because he'd get so fired up.
Fair enough.
Where I tend to be the guy who'll probably sit in a corner and kind of just focus and
It's like journaling in the corner.
yeah, think through my day a little bit more and not sort of fire myself up as I know there's 8 hours of racing. But yeah, I do also like to be probably a little bit of an aggressor on course. And if there's sort of times that I can push the race, once the gun goes off, I tend to find that little bit of spirit in me that loves kind of firing up a race and trying to break it up.
That's awesome. I think we might have time where we've got an audience here. Does anybody have a question we can ask Braden?
Well, that's putting them on the spot.
I know, right?
Yeah,
No, we're good.
yeah, okay. That's easy. That makes
there we
job
go.
real easy.
Yeah,
we don't have a microphone.
he paid off
There's a setup.
the spectators
Yeah.
to not have any questions. Well, I'll ask for them.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice for first time Ironman? You could say specifically for Cairns, but any Ironman for us mortals.
I do believe that this distance is possible for so many people, and it's just it's your own special challenge. At the end of the day, you chose it, you signed up to it, you've given yourself something to apply yourself to, and that's probably the coolest part about it. So yeah, just go out there and enjoy it when you can, and get it done.
How is it? I'm going to give you one more question.
Yeah.
There's some young dudes on that panel, like what, 24?
24s, yeah.
How is it being the old dog on the course?
I know how quick time goes.
Yeah, you were a young guy at one point.
I don't feel that old yet. I know I've probably only got a couple more years of racing at this level, but the body is holding together really well. So if I was walking in here and had an Achilles injury or a calf or something, I'd probably feel like, right, it's time to retire. But I feel really good. And they're a group of good boys at the same time. They're fun to race. And as I said, in Texas, Nick, he's a good laugh, come along beside me and he was on his deathbed and he was still prepared to write himself off, hoping that I would have a good run. So it's nice to have characters like that in the sport, and it's nice to see a good, fresh generation of athletes coming through.
Yeah, sweet. Awesome. Well, they certainly look up to you as well. But again, good luck this weekend. And thanks for everybody for listening to another episode of the Ironman Insider presented by Morton. If you want to take a look at where the Pro Series is at, follow Braden and everybody else and kind of where their point status is, go on proseries.ironman.com to find that out, and to where you can watch our live broadcasts as well. Again, thanks for listening, and thanks to our sponsor, Morton, for supporting us. I'm your host, Matt Lieto. Until next time.
Cheers.